When I was 25 years old, I learned some profound lessons from a shepherd. My husband and I were living in Germany, and I was on my way to work one morning. I always had to drive through a village to get to work. I got into the village, and I could see that two cars ahead of me were stopped. So, of course, I stopped, and I wondered what was on the road ahead. And here were three sheep. Then four followed. And then more sheep and more sheep. I had never been stopped by a flock of sheep in my life before. I was just mesmerized, really. There had to be somewhere between 70 and 100 sheep, I think. I'm not good at counting, but it was a huge flock, I'm telling you. Anyway, the next thing I know, the shepherd appeared, and he's walking along, and of course he's got his rod. As soon as I saw that, I thought of the expression, the phrase, spare the rod, spoil the child, which it's a reference to a shepherd with his rod. And I was hit as a kid. My parents believed spare the rod, spoil the child. And I was spanked. Anyway, I noticed he wasn't hitting the sheep. And I watched him for a while, and he never would hit the sheep. And the sheep are really walking slowly. But of course he wouldn't hit the sheep, because if he hit, the sheep would probably die, or at least they'd get injured, and that shepherd would be fired, because of course these sheep were very important to the owner, and he was hired to take care of them. He was doing his job. I couldn't get over how focused he was. He was really focused, and he never hit them, but he was providing safety, and he was really calm. Eventually, all the sheep crossed. I would say at least 45 minutes we were held up, and I was late for work. I thought a lot about it, and I've never forgotten what I learned about parenting. Three things I learned about parenting from that shepherd and that experience. The first was that the shepherd never hit the sheep, and the sheep were well behaved. It turns out that I was just newly pregnant on that day. I had just found out the week before that I was pregnant with our first. And we had already decided that we weren't going to hit our children because we knew what it felt like. It is our job to guide our children, right? And to provide for them. And he was providing for them. He was taking them to greener pastures where they could graze better than the field that they had left. And he was keeping them safe. In fact, we know that shepherds use their rod to protect themselves and the sheep from predators. The second thing I learned was that being calm is powerful. He was very calm, so calm. And there was no hassle of any kind. And I think that when we're calm, our children are calmer. A powerful thing to know, that we're more powerful with our children. We have more impact when we're calm. The third thing was that he was so focused on his charges, his sheep. I certainly remembered that when my child had a temper tantrum in public. I remembered that shepherd lesson I got. It's really important just to focus on yourself and your job to protect your children, to guide your children, to help them. That's what he did. He didn't pay any attention to the traffic that was being held up, and now it was piling up. There were trucks behind me. I could see in my mirror that there were trucks behind us by now too that had to deliver goods, but nobody honked their horn because they're probably used to that. That's how it is there. Here, where I live now, we're stopped by trains, and the train is going for a while, and the next thing you know, people are honking the horn as if the train goes any faster. He wasn't paying any attention to what all the drivers thought being held up by a flock of sheep. He was paying attention to those sheep in his care. That's a great lesson for us parents, because when our child has a temper tantrum in public, that's what we need to do. Focus on our children. Just focus on our kids. Because what other people think is really none of our business. That's what I learned from him. I was thinking about how I'm going to be late for work, and I had only started that job about 2 weeks before. He didn't pay any attention to us. He kept focusing on his job, and he looked really happy. Sheep were really well behaved. They were going where they were supposed to go. It's something to think about, those three things, to really stay calm, that hitting our children doesn't help anything, and to stay focused on what our job is. Mind our own business. It doesn't matter what other people think when your child has a temper tantrum or doesn't behave well in public. What matters is, how are you supporting your children to help them? and guide them, get them through it, and still keep your relationship intact and not do anything to hurt them. Until next time.